Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something that too many people don't even realize is happening, the slow death of your feminine energy. You see, your feminine energy is not about being weak, passive, or quiet. It's about radiance, softness, depth, and the power to attract instead of chase. But there are habits, subtle, everyday habits, that chip away at this energy until you feel disconnected from yourself and from the relationships you want. Today, I want to share with you 4 of the biggest ones and why you need to stop them. The first habit is overgiving without receiving. Think about how many times you've poured into others, given your love, your time, your energy, but refused to let someone pour back into you. Maybe you told yourself, "I don't want to be a burden," or "I can handle it myself." But over time, this imbalance doesn't make you stronger. It makes you resentful. True feminine energy flows best when giving and receiving are in harmony. The second habit is chasing instead of attracting. Many people fall into the trap of running after attention, trying to prove their worth, or convincing someone to see their value. But the truth is, when you chase, you move away from your own center. Feminine energy isn't about chasing, it's about embodying such authenticity, softness, and confidence that the right people are naturally drawn to you. Overgiving without receiving is one of the most subtle, yet destructive habits that drains your feminine energy. On the surface, it can look like love, kindness, and generosity. It looks noble because you are pouring into others, making sure they feel supported, cared for, and loved. But underneath, it becomes a cycle of depletion. You find yourself constantly giving, constantly doing, constantly showing up for others, while quietly neglecting yourself. And here's the painful part. When you keep giving without allowing yourself to receive, you're not just being selfless, you're teaching others that your needs don't matter. Think about how often you've dismissed compliments, brushed off offers of help, or insisted on doing everything yourself. It may feel like independence, but in reality, it's a refusal to allow the natural flow of love and support back into your life. Feminine energy thrives on exchange. It's not about giving endlessly. It's about the dance between giving and receiving, a balance that keeps your energy alive and magnetic. When you shut off the receiving end, you dry up the well inside you, and eventually, that well can no longer pour out anything nourishing for others. Overgiving often comes from a hidden belief that your value is tied to what you do for others. Maybe at some point in your life, you felt that love had to be earned through service, sacrifice, or proving your worth. So you keep doing, you keep giving, you keep overextending. But the irony is, the more you give without receiving, the less appreciated you feel. It's like pouring into a cup that never gets filled back. No matter how much you give, you're left empty. And over time, emptiness turns into resentment. That resentment is a clear sign that your feminine energy is being suffocated. Feminine energy is radiant, soft, open, and receptive. It shines when it feels cared for, protected, and valued. When you are always in the role of the giver, you block yourself from being in the role of the receiver. You deny yourself the sweetness of being nurtured, cherished, and held. That denial leaves you feeling hardened, disconnected, and burnt out. Allowing yourself to receive is not weakness. It doesn't make you dependent or needy. It makes you balanced. Receiving is about acknowledging your worth. When someone offers you kindness, love, or care, and you allow yourself to take it in, you are silently affirming, "I am worthy of this. I deserve to be loved in return." That affirmation restores your feminine energy because it keeps your heart open and your spirit nourished. Many people confuse overgiving with love, but true love is not about self-erasure. It is not about endlessly sacrificing yourself in the hopes of being valued. True love requires presence, and you cannot be truly present if you are exhausted, bitter, or running on empty. By giving without receiving, you disconnect from yourself. You start living for others instead of living in your own fullness. And when you do that, your energy stops feeling magnetic because it's no longer authentic. There is also a deeper truth here. When you refuse to receive, you rob others of the joy of giving to you. Think about how good it feels when you give to someone you love, when you see their eyes light up, when you feel that your effort made them happy. That joy is part of the connection. If you're always the one giving and never receiving, you deny others that experience with you. Relationships lose their balance, and you may even attract people who are comfortable taking but never offering, because you've set the tone that this is acceptable. Rebuilding your feminine energy means opening yourself back up to receiving. It means letting someone help you carry the load instead of insisting you've got it all handled. It means saying thank you and actually allowing the compliment to sink in instead of dismissing it with a joke. It means letting love come toward you instead of feeling like you must chase it or earn it. Receiving is not passive, it's powerful. It requires trust, openness, and the courage to be seen as worthy without having to constantly prove it. Overgiving without receiving drains you in ways that are not immediately visible. It doesn't show up overnight. It shows up slowly, in small ways, the exhaustion that doesn't go away, the quiet sadness that lingers, the sense of being unseen or unappreciated, even while you're doing so much. These are the signs that your feminine energy is being starved. And until you allow yourself to receive love, attention, support, you'll never feel truly replenished. The truth is, you cannot give from an empty place. You cannot keep pouring into others while neglecting your own heart. The very essence of feminine energy is being full, radiant, overflowing with life. That overflow only happens when you're nourished, when you've allowed others to pour into you as well. When you learn to receive, you restore balance. You move from depletion to abundance. You move from resentment to joy. And you move from hardness to the soft, magnetic presence that is the core of your feminine energy. Chasing instead of attracting is one of the fastest ways to disconnect from your feminine energy. At first, chasing feels natural because it's driven by desire. You see something you want and you go after it. In many areas of life, like career or personal growth, this approach works. But when it comes to relationships and your feminine essence, chasing flips the natural flow of energy upside down. Instead of being magnetic, radiant, and centered, you become restless, anxious, and desperate for external validation. Feminine energy is about drawing in, not running after. The moment you chase, you step out of your true power and into a role that leaves you feeling depleted. Chasing can take many forms. It could be texting someone constantly, trying to prove your worth, always initiating or overanalyzing someone's every move just to figure out what you can do to get closer. It could be bending your schedule, compromising your boundaries, or ignoring your needs just to fit into someone else's life. At its core, chasing is about trying to control the outcome. It's rooted in fear, the fear that if you don't keep the energy alive, it will die. But here's the truth. When you have to force someone to notice you, to choose you, or to value you, it's not alignment, it's a performance. True feminine energy doesn't perform. It embodies, it radiates, it attracts naturally because it's not seeking, it's being. When you're in your feminine energy, you don't chase because you already know your worth. You already trust that what is meant for you will be drawn to you without you having to run after it. Attraction is about presence, about being so connected to yourself that others are drawn into your orbit without you lifting a finger. Chasing, on the other hand, pulls you out of yourself. It makes you abandon your own center to go running towards someone else's. When you chase, you give away your power. Every action becomes about what the other person thinks, feels, or does. You're no longer leading your life, you're living in reaction to theirs. This constant effort drains your feminine energy because it shifts you from receiving and magnetizing into proving and pursuing. And the irony is, the harder you chase, the less attractive you become. Not because you're not worthy, but because you're no longer in the energy that is naturally magnetic. Attraction is effortless. Think about the sun. It doesn't chase anyone. It simply shines and everything is drawn toward its light. That's feminine energy at its highest expression. It glows without grasping. It holds a quiet confidence that says, I don't need to run after what I desire, because what aligns with me will find me. When you are in that space, you're not passive, you're powerful. Your presence alone shifts the dynamic. You move from desperation to confidence, from scarcity to abundance. One of the biggest reasons people fall into chasing is impatience. They don't trust the timing of life, so they push. They don't trust their own worth, so they prove. They don't trust the natural flow of connection, so they force. But the truth is, anything that needs to be forced isn't real alignment. Real attraction happens naturally, without pressure. And when you let go of chasing, you create space for the right energy to come toward you. That space is where your feminine essence shines brightest. Another reason chasing feels so tempting is because it gives the illusion of control. If you're doing the calling, the texting, the planning, you feel like you're driving the connection forward. But this is a false sense of security, because if the other person isn't truly invested, your efforts won't change the outcome. All you'll do is exhaust yourself while holding together something that isn't being equally held on the other side. This exhaustion is the opposite of feminine energy, which thrives on flow, ease, and surrender. Letting go of chasing requires a deep shift in belief. It means trusting that you are worthy of love without having to hunt it down. It means understanding that your presence, your authenticity, and your joy are more magnetic than any effort to impress or convince. It means leaning into the power of allowing people to step up, to meet you, to invest in you without you having to drag them there. This doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means taking inspired action from a place of self-worth, not desperation. When you stop chasing, you reclaim your energy. Instead of pouring it into endless pursuit, you invest it into yourself, your growth, your joy, your passions. That investment makes you glow in a way that draws the right people and opportunities toward you. You move from scarcity to abundance because you're no longer begging for scraps of attention. You're radiating fullness. This shift changes not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. Chasing is rooted in lack. Attraction is rooted in overflow. When you stop the habit of chasing, you stop living in the energy of I am not enough and step into the energy of I already am. And that energy is irresistible. It softens you, it grounds you, and it makes you magnetic in a way that no amount of chasing could ever achieve. Suppressing your emotions is one of the quietest yet most damaging ways you kill your feminine energy. From a young age, many people are told that emotions are too much, that they make you weak, irrational, or dramatic. Over time, you begin to believe that the best way to be loved, respected, or taken seriously is to mute yourself, to smile when you're hurting, to stay calm when you're angry, to pretend you're fine when inside you're anything but. This suppression doesn't make the emotions go away, it just buries them deeper, where they turn into exhaustion, anxiety, or even resentment. Feminine energy, however, thrives on expression. It is not about being perfect or polished. It's about being real, being fully alive, and allowing yourself to be felt. When you suppress your emotions, you disconnect from yourself. Every emotion is information. It tells you what you value, what hurts, what excites you, what you need. By silencing those signals, you lose touch with your own truth. You stop knowing yourself fully because you're only allowing a controlled, edited version of yourself to exist. Feminine energy flourishes when there is flow, but suppression is the opposite of flow. It is a wall, a blockage, a dam holding back everything that makes you vibrant and magnetic. Over time, this lack of expression hardens you, leaving you closed off, guarded, and unreachable. One of the biggest lies is that vulnerability makes you unattractive. Many people hide their emotions out of fear that if they show sadness, longing, or fear, others will see them as needy. But vulnerability, when expressed authentically, is magnetic. It creates intimacy. It draws people closer because it says, this is the real me, not the polished version, not the performance, but the truth. Suppression might keep you safe from rejection, but it also keeps you safe from connection. You cannot be fully loved if you are not fully seen, and you cannot be fully seen if you're always hiding how you feel. Feminine energy is not about being loud with your feelings, it's about being honest with them. There's a softness, a beauty, and a strength in someone who can say, I feel hurt by this, or I feel joy about that, without shame. Suppressing those truths might make you appear composed, but inside, it's costing you peace. The very essence of feminine energy is openness, the ability to receive, to feel, to express. Every time you suppress, you close another door, and those doors eventually lock you inside your own cage. Think about the times you've swallowed your words, held back your tears, or forced yourself to stay, chill, when you were deeply moved. In those moments, you might have avoided conflict or rejection, but you also rejected yourself. That self-rejection is what kills your energy from within. You end up living a life that is quieter, smaller, less colorful than the one your soul craves. You become someone others can admire, perhaps, but not someone they can deeply connect with. Connection requires emotion. Passion requires expression. Life requires flow. Without it, everything becomes flat. Suppressing emotions doesn't just affect relationships, it affects your health, your creativity, and your overall energy. What you don't express stays in your body. Unreleased sadness becomes heaviness. Unspoken anger becomes tension. Unacknowledged joy becomes numbness. Feminine energy is about being in tune with your body and your heart, but suppression creates a disconnection so wide that you start to feel like a stranger in your own skin. To reclaim your feminine energy, you must learn to trust your emotions again. That doesn't mean letting them control you. It means letting them guide you. Emotions are like waves, they rise, they peak, they pass. When you suppress them, they don't pass, they get stuck. When you express them, you allow movement, and in movement, there is freedom. Feminine energy thrives in that freedom, in the ability to move gracefully through different states without shame. There's also something deeply magnetic about someone who is unapologetic with their emotions. Not in a chaotic way, but in a truthful way. When you laugh fully, when you cry openly, when you speak honestly, you radiate a kind of courage that inspires others to do the same. That courage draws people in because it feels real. Realness is rare in a world where everyone is performing, and feminine energy, at its core, is about realness. Suppression comes from fear, fear of being too much, fear of being abandoned, fear of not being loved if you reveal your full self. But the paradox is that the more you suppress, the less lovable you feel, because you're never sure if people care for the real you or for the mask you're wearing. The only way to truly feel loved is to allow yourself to be seen in your wholeness, your light and your shadow, your strength and your sensitivity. Feminine energy is emotional energy. It is fluid, ever-changing, and beautifully unpredictable. It cannot be contained without consequence. When you stop suppressing and start expressing, you return to your natural state, alive, vibrant, magnetic. You don't need to apologize for feeling. Feeling is your gift. It is the very thing that makes you powerful. And when you honor it, you step back into the essence of your feminine energy in the most authentic way possible. Living in constant control mode is one of the greatest drains on your feminine energy. On the surface, being in control feels powerful. You handle everything, you manage the details, you plan ahead, you keep the plates spinning. People may even admire you for how capable, organized, and reliable you are. But beneath that strength, there is often a deep exhaustion. Feminine energy is not meant to operate in rigid control all the time. It is about flow, surrender, softness, and trust. When you are constantly in control mode, you don't leave space for ease. You trade flow for tension, trust for anxiety, and presence for pressure. Over time, this constant control strips away the very qualities that make your feminine energy magnetic. Control often comes from fear. Fear that if you don't handle everything, it will all fall apart. Fear that if you don't make things happen, they won't. Fear that if you let go, you'll be let down. These fears push you into a masculine mode of operating, taking charge, pushing forward, fixing, solving. And while those qualities have their place, they dominate your life when you stop trusting in the natural rhythm of things. Instead of allowing support, you insist on carrying it all yourself. Instead of being open to receiving, you focus on orchestrating. Instead of enjoying the moment, you worry about what's next. Control robs you of presence, and presence is where your feminine energy lives. Feminine energy flourishes in trust. Trust in yourself, trust in others, trust in the process of life. It doesn't mean being passive or doing nothing. It means not clinging so tightly to the outcome that you lose your peace. Constant control creates a grip so tight that nothing can breathe. Not relationships, not opportunities, not even your own spirit. When you let go of the need to control everything, you create space for magic to happen. You allow yourself to be surprised, to be delighted, to be carried instead of always carrying. That space is where your feminine energy blooms. Relationships are one of the clearest places where control mode drains feminine energy. When you are always the one planning, initiating, deciding, and fixing, you leave no room for polarity. Feminine energy is receptive and inviting, while masculine energy thrives on direction and action. If you take on all the control, you block the natural dance between these energies. You may even find yourself attracting partners who are passive or avoidant because your control leaves no space for them to step up. Over time, you feel unappreciated and unsupported, not realizing that your constant control has set the stage for that imbalance. Control also hardens you. It creates a protective shell that may keep you safe but also keeps you closed. Feminine energy is about openness, being soft, being vulnerable, being willing to surrender. When you're in control mode, you can't surrender because surrender feels like danger. But true surrender is not weakness, it is strength. It takes courage to trust. It takes courage to release the need to micromanage and to believe that things will unfold as they should. That courage is deeply magnetic because it radiates confidence instead of anxiety. Living in constant control mode is exhausting because it goes against your natural design. You are not meant to hold everything together at all times. The body and the mind crave balance, and feminine energy restores that balance through ease, play, and flow. When was the last time you allowed yourself to just be, to enjoy without planning, to rest without guilt, to laugh without worrying about what needs to be done next? Those moments of presence are not luxuries, they are nourishment. Without them, your energy depletes, your spirit dims, and your radiance fades. There's also a deeper truth. Control is an illusion. No matter how hard you try, you cannot control everything. Life is unpredictable. People are unpredictable, and the future is unknown. The tighter you hold on, the more frustrated and anxious you become when things don't go your way. Feminine energy embraces the unknown. It dances with uncertainty instead of resisting it. It finds beauty in the unfolding instead of needing every step mapped out. The moment you accept that control is an illusion, you free yourself from the weight of trying to carry it all. Shifting out of constant control mode begins with small acts of letting go. It could mean letting someone else plan the evening instead of organizing every detail yourself. It could mean saying yes to an experience without knowing exactly how it will turn out. It could mean asking for help and allowing yourself to receive it instead of proving you can do it all. Each act of release strengthens your feminine energy because it roots you in trust and openness. The beauty of feminine energy is that it doesn't require perfection or performance. It thrives in authenticity, in flow, in presence. Control squeezes the life out of those qualities, but surrender breathes them back in. When you soften your grip, you don't lose power, you gain freedom. You gain space for joy, for intimacy, for inspiration. And in that space, your feminine energy awakens, radiant and alive in a way that constant control could never achieve. Neglecting self-nurture is one of the quietest ways your feminine energy fades, because it happens slowly and often without you realizing it. Life pulls you in 100 directions: work, relationships, responsibilities, expectations, and in the process, your own needs fall to the bottom of the list. You tell yourself you'll rest later, you'll take care of yourself when things calm down, you'll indulge in what you love when you earn it, but that later rarely comes. Day by day, you run on empty, and the light that makes your feminine energy radiant begins to dim. Feminine energy is not something you can force. It needs to be nourished, cared for, and replenished. Without self-nurture, it dries out like a well that's been overdrawn with no water flowing back in. Self-nurture is more than just pampering or treating yourself once in a while. It's about honoring your body, your mind, and your spirit as sacred. It's about asking yourself what you truly need and giving yourself permission to receive it. This might mean rest when you're tired, solitude when you're overwhelmed, creativity when your spirit craves expression, or joy when your heart longs to feel alive again. When you consistently deny these needs, you disconnect from yourself. That disconnection is what kills your feminine energy, because your feminine essence thrives on alignment with your body, with your emotions, and with your soul. Neglecting self-nurture also sends a powerful message to yourself that your needs are not important. Every time you push yourself past exhaustion, silence your desires, or ignore your well-being, you're reinforcing the belief that you come last. Over time, this erodes your sense of worth. Feminine energy is radiant when it is rooted in self-love, but when you continually abandon yourself, that radiance fades. You may still function, still smile, still give to others, but deep down you feel depleted. Depletion doesn't just affect you, it affects the energy you bring to everything and everyone around you. Think about how magnetic someone feels when they are glowing with health, joy, and self-love. That glow doesn't come from makeup, clothes, or appearances. It comes from within, from a woman or man who takes the time to nurture themselves. Their presence feels alive, and that aliveness is what makes others want to be near them. Compare that with someone who is running on fumes, always tired, stressed, and disconnected. No matter how attractive they might be on the surface, their energy doesn't feel vibrant. Neglecting self-nurture slowly shifts you into that drained state, where instead of radiating, you're simply surviving. Another consequence of neglecting self-nurture is resentment. When you constantly give to others but fail to give to yourself, a bitterness builds. You may not say it out loud, but you feel unappreciated, unseen, or taken for granted. The truth is, the world mirrors how you treat yourself. If you don't value your own needs, others won't either. If you don't prioritize your well-being, others will learn to expect that you'll always be available, always sacrificing, always giving without limits. This dynamic drains your feminine energy because it leaves you in a cycle of overextending and under-receiving. Self-nurture is not selfish, it's essential. It restores balance. It allows you to give from overflow instead of depletion. When your cup is full, your giving is natural, joyful, and effortless. When your cup is empty, your giving becomes forced, obligatory, and resentful. Feminine energy flourishes in overflow, in abundance, in the joy of having so much within that it naturally spills over to others. That abundance only happens when you consistently nurture yourself. Nurturing yourself can look different for everyone. For some, it's physical, resting, moving the body, eating nourishing foods. For others, it's emotional, journaling, speaking your truth, surrounding yourself with uplifting people. For many, it's spiritual, prayer, meditation, time in nature, or creative expression. Whatever form it takes, the key is to listen to what your inner self is asking for and respond with care. That act of listening and responding builds trust with yourself, and that trust strengthens your feminine energy. There's also a playfulness in self-nurture that is often forgotten. Feminine energy loves pleasure, beauty, and joy. Neglecting self-nurture robs you of that playful, radiant quality. When was the last time you did something simply because it delighted you, not because it was productive or necessary? Those little moments, dancing in your room, buying yourself flowers, savoring your favorite meal, are not trivial. They are fuel for your feminine essence. They remind you that life is not just about surviving responsibilities, but about fully living. Neglecting self-nurture doesn't just affect your inner world, it changes how you show up in relationships. When you don't take care of yourself, you unconsciously expect others to fill the gap. You look for a partner, friends, or family to give you the care you deny yourself. This creates imbalance and dependence, draining your relationships as much as it drains you. But when you nurture yourself, you show up whole, radiant, and alive. You don't need someone to complete you. You invite them to share in your overflow. That energy is deeply attractive because it comes from a place of strength rather than lack. At its core, feminine energy is about being connected to your body, your emotions, your desires, and the present moment. Neglecting self-nurture severs that connection. It leaves you feeling dull, tired, and invisible. But when you choose to nurture yourself, you come back into alignment. You feel more present, more alive, more magnetic. Self-nurture is not indulgence, it is the foundation of your radiance. Without it, your feminine energy withers. With it, your feminine energy thrives and becomes the force that lights up everything around you. Feminine energy is not something you need to create, it's something you need to protect. It already lives inside you. It is your softness, your radiance, your presence, your ability to feel and to flow. But as we've seen, the wrong habits, overgiving without receiving, chasing instead of attracting, suppressing your emotions, living in constant control mode, and neglecting self-nurture, slowly suffocate that energy until you forget the power you hold. The truth is, the world doesn't need you to be harder, colder, or endlessly strong. It needs you to be real, alive, and connected to yourself. When you stop the habits that drain you, you return to your natural state, magnetic, radiant, and deeply powerful in a way that doesn't require effort. So, the challenge is simple. Let go of the habits that kill your feminine energy and reclaim the ones that restore it. Receive as much as you give. Attract instead of chase. Express instead of suppress. Surrender instead of controlling. Nurture instead of neglecting. Do this, and you will feel your energy shift. You will not only change how others respond to you, you will change how you feel about yourself, because your feminine energy is your superpower. Protect it, honor it, and watch how life begins to flow in ways you never thought possible. 10 OU